The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are ranked 8th in the country and on their way to Raleigh this weekend. Can the NC State Wolfpack pull off the upset for the biggest win of the season?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by Mazda. Like players, Mazda sweats out every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Mazda, move and be moved. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we have a big football game in Raleigh, North Carolina on Saturday night. The number 8 ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets will be rambling into Carter Finley Stadium. A 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2. It's a primetime game. NC State has perhaps the biggest opponent of the year. It's homecoming. It's a nighttime game in Carter Finley. They say those things get pretty weird. I guess we'll have to find out firsthand yet again. What is at stake Saturday night for the NC State Wolfpack?
Well, the first thing is the homecoming streak. You know, NC State has not lost a homecoming in quite some time. And, you know, that is a definite thing that you want to hang your hat on, because when you think about what homecoming is, right, it quite literally is that. It is all of the alums. It is folks who are not normally the biggest football people coming back to watch your team put on a show. And even beyond that, what's at stake? This game could be the catalyst to turn the season around. Remember when we said every game was winnable and every game was losable a few years ago when Brennan Armstrong and Peyton Wilson were here? What game was after the Duke game that we lost where we said this game, you've got to turn around and decide what team you want to be?
It was Clemson.
And that was Clemson rolling at a pretty high clip. The reality is this. This is the game that if there is to be a turnaround in this season, it has to be now. It can't be later. It can't be. Because with all due respect, if you can't beat this Georgia Tech team, you don't stand a chance against Miami. You do not stand a chance. And I know some people are going to look at me and say, well, Ken, Louisville beat them, and Louisville got beat by a team we beat. Transference does not work that way in college, or else Toledo would be the national champions every year. The way that this works out, if we are to turn this season around and say, hey, we can muster some belief in that locker room. We can start to get a little wired in that locker room saying game in and game out. We can do it at the highest level. It has to start now. Right now, what's at stake? We're on a 2-game losing streak right now. And if we're only talking against Power 4 teams, we're on a 3-game losing streak right now.
Yep.
That's just the reality. That's
4.
just
4 game. P4? Yeah, 4 games.
Okay, so every team not named Campbell, we are on a 4-game losing streak. I don't really think that moves the needle. I don't think that win moves the needle for anybody in Wolfpack Nation. So with that in mind, I sit here and I say, this is the game. Turn it around, make it happen, get belief not only going in this locker room, but in this fan base. Because as much as Wolfpack Nation says, oh, you know, we're done, we're not going to believe it all. One thing I know about Wolfpack Nation, you're never really done. We never actually get off this roller coaster.
No.
We always say we're done, but all it takes is 1 or 2 wins, and then we turn into Hawkeye and Endgame. Don't give me hope. Don't do that. So this is the reality of what's at stake in this game is the homecoming winning streak, getting some belief going in that locker room, and the ability to finish this season in the right way. Because if you lose this game, it'll very likely continue. I'm not going to say this game will snowball because at this point it's an avalanche. And the avalanche will continue downhill, and Miami will dominate you, and you'll go forward saying, well, maybe we could get a win against a Florida State team that's won 1 conference game in the last 2 years, and or 2 conference games in the last 2 years, rather, and all that good stuff. And you know, it's just not going to be what you want to do.
If you look up the textbook definition of Stockholm Syndrome, you will find that old picture of Mr. Wolf with his head down like this. You'll find it. Even when you say you're out, every year, every sport, whatever it may be, you say you're out, you're never really out. You can't quit NC State regardless of how hard you try. You say you're not going to watch, you still watch.
Come on.
Even if you don't watch, what do you check? You check the box score. You can't go a weekend without knowing what NC State did. I say all of that to say, what's at stake for NC State Saturday night? The biggest win of Dave Doeren's tenure here at NC State. This would be the highest ranked win. It'd be the highest ranked win at home. And Georgia Tech is undefeated. They are on a steamroll right now toward the ACC Championship, potentially the CFP. In fact, what's at stake for Georgia Tech? If they win this game, they're like really close to locking up potentially both of those things. They have a couple more games to play, but I like their chances in most of those. This is a humongous game for both of these teams. And a lot of us are saying, well, NC State's 4-4. How big of a deal can it really be? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to experience some magic this year? Because right now, we're sitting at 0. We've had 0 magical moments. We've had a skosh of fun in the first 3 weeks. Not much to speak of since then. How bad do you want to experience what the magic of college football is? There's a dark magic when you play night games at Carter Finley Stadium. We've seen it countless times over the years. You got another shot at one of those babies this Saturday night. Like we said, Georgia Tech is a really good team. They're not going to come in and just hand it to us. They're not going to roll over. It's not going to be easy. NC State will have to play by far the best game that they have played all season long. They've played 8 games. Well, I guess strike out the Campbell game for just a second. 7 games against FBS opponents, and they've gone 0 for 7 in playing a full 4-quarter game. Can you figure out a way to do it against the best team you've seen up until this point? It's a really high bar to hit. I know. When I'm telling you I think NC State's going to win this game, I'm not just blindly floating out the idea. I think there's a lot of other noise, potentially some rat poison in the air that Georgia Tech might be getting a whiff of. You see Haynes King getting some Heisman love. Brett Keyes saying he's the best quarterback in the country. Everyone wants to talk about, is the ACC going to blow up the CFP picture? How many teams for the ACC might ruin other people's chances like Notre Dame or maybe some teams in the Big 12? Nobody is going to give NC State a shot in this game outside of some of us. The national media, nobody. Nobody's going to pick NC State. If this game is featured on College Game Day for the picks, I guarantee you it's a clean sweep of that gold color with a bumblebee on the logo. Nobody's going to give NC State a shot in this. What does that mean to you? What does this opportunity mean to you? I saw that earlier in the week, they had a players-only meeting. That's a whole lot of something right here. That's the players saying, we're sick and tired of losing. We're sick and tired of beating ourselves. We're sick and tired of wasting opportunities. This week, we are hell-bent on getting it right. And what an opportunity you have in front of you, a top 10 team on national television. What will NC State do with this opportunity? Because it is a big one.
Players-only meetings, they're how do I put this? They are interesting and very polarizing things sometimes. Sometimes they're the catalyst to instant and immediate success. And sometimes it turns into a giant finger-pointing match and nobody really wants to take accountability for what their part is and what's going wrong. And all of a sudden, you know, it's downhill in a hurry and guys walk away feeling worse than they did going in. I'm going to trust these seniors and I'm going to trust these vets. I'm going to trust these guys that have been doing it for a little bit in the red and white of NC State. And my hope is that this group walked away from that meeting saying, we've got to be better. I've got to be better. Before anybody else, before I point at anybody else and say, hey, the DBs are giving up da-da-da-da. Well, hold on now, because even some of our best units, I've talked about how great the offensive line has been all year. Against Georgia Tech, we just did not feel the need to block linebackers. That was a repetitive theme all game. And if anybody wants to look at it, if the wide receivers want to say, hey, offensive linemen, y'all, you really sold us against Georgia Tech. Oh, well, hold on now. Because last time I checked, the special teams blunders, a lot of them can be placed squarely at y'all feet. So, there's that. And, if you want to, it's not about blaming anybody else because no unit has been perfect. The quarterback room, we've seen the moments. The running back room, although Hollywood has been great, outside of Hollywood, are you doing it? Is it done? The receiver room has shown flashes, hasn't been consistent. And defensively,
Easy.
none of you should be, So with that in mind, this is a moment for everybody to look at themselves. And that's not me pointing out these guys are what they are and everybody on the team has been terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I hope that the sentiment coming out of this players only meeting was we all have to be better. I hope the sentiment coming out was, what can I, the guy in the mirror, what can we do better on this day? Because on Saturday, they're going to place that ball down in Carter Finley. And yeah, you got the number 8 team in America coming in to take over your trap. But guess what? Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure Haynes King puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you. Jamal Haynes puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you. I don't know, Grayson. Maybe they got some guys that do double head back springs into their trousers, but I don't know of anybody who does it that way. So you've got a phenomenal opportunity in front of you. You've got a phenomenal opportunity. What do you do with this opportunity? That answer lies ahead. That answer will be given Saturday night.
Coming up next, we're going to detail what NC State must do in order to pull this off. We're talking Kenton's keys after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat out all the details. Mazda takes this very same approach into how they craft each and every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like players, Mazda sweats out every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible, like beating Georgia Tech, becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time to get into Kenton's keys, detailing what NC State must do to knock off Georgia Tech. Here we go.
Number one, for those of you who are not fans of the series Friday, which was created by Ice Cube and had just an ensemble, star-studded ensemble, there was a scene in the movie where Chris Tucker, who played the character Smokey, said, I got mind control over Debo. And in this game, I need this offense to have ball control over the Yellow Jackets. What do I mean? The Yellow Jackets, I was trying to figure out, how do they allow so many yards but so few points? And it hit me, Grayson. It hit me. They're the exact opposite of a hurry-up offense. They take it nice and slow. What are you rushing for? Let's just, hey, everybody, let's slow this thing down. The problem with that is that you don't get as many possessions. And if you can possess the ball for a very long time, you make it tough for their offense to get in the rhythm. So I need ball control over the Yellow Jackets. Give me winning the time of possession battle by 5 minutes or more.
The way that Georgia Tech really likes to win these football games, because they are run heavy, they're going to try and grind you down. They'll hit you in the face. They'll hit you in the face. They'll throw a screen pass. They'll hit you in the face. They want to out-physical you for 4 quarters. And also how they do that, they hold on to the ball for a really long time. They want like a 10, 11, 12-play drive that takes 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes off the clock. That's the way they're going to try and win this football game. So for NC State, you have to try and beat them at their own game. Because a lot of times we either go 3 and out or we score on like 2 plays. This game, you're going to want to try and have some extended drives where you're taking some time off the clock, you're moving the ball at will, and then you're keeping their defense on the field so they can get worn down instead of ours doing that instead. So ball control in this game, it's going to be very, very important. Offensive key number 2.
Offensive key number 2 is break the bend. I've talked about how many yards they allow between the 20s. You've got to find a way to be more efficient, score more points against this defense. You cannot allow yourselves to get to the red zone and then do nothing with it. So I'm going to say make at least 6 trips into the red zone, scoring at least 3 touchdowns. The reason I say this, if you score touchdowns, if you get into the red zone that much, that means either you're taking the ball away a ton or you are moving the ball effectively a ton. When you get into that red zone, you got to get in that box. You got to get in that box, ladies and gentlemen, Because if you cannot, again, their whole premise of their defense, just bend, give them what they want, give them what they can take from you, and then all of a sudden, when our backs are against the wall, we're going to bow our necks and we'll be just fine. Well, in this one, you got to let them know it's too late to bow, buddy. It's too late. We're going to go ahead and get our 6.
This is the perfect handshake equation to the first key, because if you are going to control the ball and burn some time off the clock, you have got to make it count at the end of the drive. We told you earlier in the week that NC State converts in the red zone at a 90% rate. You must keep up that trend. Whether it's by field goal or by punching it in the end zone, you have to make sure that you're capitalizing on your opportunities and scoring when you can. Take the points in this game, because if it's going to turn out to be a shootout, you're going to need each and every one of those. So if you are to get in the red zone, and hopefully in this game, it's pretty often, you have got to finish the drive with points on the scoreboard. Last and not least, the third offensive key.
Kurt Roper loves Sosa. Vandross, that is, ladies and gentlemen. Hollywood Smothers needs to go over 125 total yards and 2 touchdowns. And I see that he's listed as questionable. So if he is out, transfer this to whoever the running back one is. I'm guessing it would be Duke Scott, of course. We need 125 and 2 total touchdowns, because Georgia Tech has shown a weakness for stopping the run. You have to take advantage of that. You have to be able to run the ball effectively, or else all of this is over. I think the key to getting CJ's confidence back is putting him in advantageous positions, putting him in positions where it's all right. Even if you throw the ball away here, it won't kill the offense. Nothing bad is going to happen. And that can only happen if we have our running backs rush the ball at a high clip. So if Hollywood is available, give me 125 and 2 tutties. If he's not, transfer that over to the starting running back.
So I did see that Hollywood is listed as questionable for this game. I want to go ahead and put this out there. That completely changes my prediction to win this football game. If we can't utilize Hollywood Smothers, forget everything I've told you, because we are not going to win this game without him. He is that important for NC State having a shot at this. Hollywood is the best running back in the ACC. He's a top 6 running back in the country. Georgia Tech's run defense is the deficiency of their defense. You don't win this game unless Hollywood goes crazy. So that is certainly something to keep an eye on. I'm expecting him to play. I hope I don't get proven wrong. But Hollywood will be the key to this game for NC State. Both through the air and on the ground, you have to utilize him in every single way that you can. Get the ball into his hands. He will make the play happen after that. Now, switching gears into the defense and special teams keys, here's number 1.
Make Haynes King take the top off of your defense. That is what has to happen in this game.
Pause.
Stop. I knew he was going to do it. You have to make Haynes King beat you as a passer. If you allow this running game, and if you allow all the motion and the shifts and the misdirection and the pullers and all those things to confuse your eyes, confuse the scheme, and you do not execute, because it doesn't matter. Even if you are aligned and assigned, if you do not make tackles, this Georgia Tech team, these backs, Haynes King, they'll keep on running. The Saints will go marching in to your end zone, or the Yellow Jackets in this instance will go marching in. You have to hold this team to under 150 yards. And I'm not going to say it's an easy task, because this is one of the best running games in the nation. But if you can keep them in that 150 to 175 range, you give yourself a very serious shot.
We've had some Georgia Tech fans in some of our comments kind of questioning what I was saying about you have to force Haynes King to beat you through the air. What I mean by that is, in terms of passing yards in the ACC, Haynes King is 12th. In terms of passing touchdowns, he's 16th. And of course, we know that he's near the top of the leaderboards in every single rushing statistic. It's no secret that the strength of Haynes King is him as a playmaker with the ball in his hands on the ground. Can he pass? Yes, absolutely. He has one of the top accuracy rates in the conference. However, I think that's a little bit skewed because he doesn't throw as much as all the other quarterbacks, and the average completion is about 8 yards. So it's not stretching the field per se. All of that being said, the key for the NC State defense is to stop the run. Sell out against the run. You have to limit it as much as you possibly can. Make Haynes King beat you through the air. That is the way to give yourself a shot in this game. Defensive key number 2.
The defensive key number 2 for this game is finish. Limit Georgia Tech to 10 or less second half points. Here's the thing. I feel like night game, homecoming, this team's going to start fast enough. I think they're going to start fast enough to keep this game close, to keep this game where it has to be. If you can limit Georgia Tech to 10 or less second half points, you are putting yourself in a very good position to win this football game. I don't think that Georgia Tech will come out of the gates that hot to where it's like, oh man, this game is over in the first half. And if you can keep it close, if you keep them to 10 or less in the second half, you've definitely got yourself in a good position. And I want you to also think about this. All of the games where Georgia Tech was, quote unquote, supposed to lose, or, oh, they had a worse win rate in terms of who won more plays than their opponent, they won when it mattered. They won the second half. They won those fourth quarters. If you can keep this team from winning this second half, you've got a good shot.
Something to add on to this, and Kenton already hinted at it, it's very important for NC State to start fast because, like I said on Wednesday, the Georgia Tech offense, because it is super run heavy, it's not built to play from behind. Again, can they throw? Yes, they can throw. But the main feature of their offense is to run the ball, smash your face, and run the ball some more. If you're down 17, 21 points, it's a lot harder to do that because you have to keep in mind the clock and how many more possessions you may or may not have. So for NC State, start fast, be stout. If you can hold Georgia Tech to like 13 first half points or less, and you score, 20 plus, I know perhaps I'm asking for a lot here, but that's the formula. If you're going to win this game, that is the formula. You have to get out front early, stay out front early, and you cannot allow Georgia Tech to blow you up in the second half. And our third defensive and special teams key.
You have got to steal yourself a possession or two. You've got to extend a drive with a fake, recover an onside kick, or force 2+ turnovers. And let me tell you why. Do you remember when Syracuse beat Clemson? At that time, we still thought Clemson was a very good team, and Steve Angeli went down in that game. But do you want to know what the most odd part of that game was? Most people walked away from it saying, Fran Brown went for multiple onside kicks back-to-back before the game was over. What was that about? He was guaranteeing his team more possessions, or at least saying, I'm going to fight for more possessions. I'm not going to give it to you easy. We have to steal a couple possessions. One of the biggest limiting factors of the way Georgia Tech plays offense, they need the ball a lot. If you limit their amount of possessions, you put yourself in a better position. So you have to extend a drive or two, or you have to take the ball away to cut their drive short, and this will put you in a good position, okay? And I know people are going to say, well, extend or stealing a possession or two against any team is good. Yes, but it's particularly relevant here because, again, Georgia Tech plays a very slow and deliberate style of football. If you can beat them in time of possession and steal a possession or two, all of a sudden you could do something crazy like have 15 or 20 or 25 minutes of real time go by between when their offense is on the field. That's what you want to see here.
This one also connects to the idea of taking advantage of your opportunities in the red zone on the offensive side. If NC State can force turnovers, and I know we've said this like essentially every single week when we've done Kenton's Keys, and we have extremely little to show for. However, if you can force it like just one fumble in this game, and perhaps you get points off that turnover, that could loom extremely large in a game like this. If you can steal a possession with, a fake punt, haven't seen too many of those this year, extending a drive, keeping your offense on the field, and keeping their defense on the field, that is how you're going to win this game. There's so much truth to what Kenton was telling you about Fran Brown against Clemson. In these big games, these games against a top 10 team, a primetime game, you have to find a way to make the differential plays. That's a fake punt. That's an onside kick. That's a turnover that maybe you score on. Maybe it's a recovered fumble for a touchdown. Maybe it's a pick six. Those plays are going to be the most influential in a game like this one. The task for NC State, you got to be the team that takes advantage of it. If you throw a pick six, if you drop a fumble and it goes the other way, if you're getting fake punted on or fake field goal on left and right, I got real bad news for you if you're wearing red and white Saturday night. But if NC State can be the team that does it, look out. Weird things happen in Carter Finley at night. We know this to be true. You just need a couple of those weird things to go in your direction to pull this thing off. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Friday show with our final thoughts and our score predictions ahead of our top 10 matchup with Georgia Tech. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is DoorDash. It's almost time for the weekend, which means it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For the NC State Wolfpack last weekend at Pitt, and hopefully this weekend against Georgia Tech, the MVP was Hollywood Smothers. He broke off a 65-yard touchdown, a career-long touchdown, and led the way, at least at that point, for the NC State offense. Going to need a whole lot more of that this Saturday night as well. So Hollywood Smothers, as we know, he always delivers, but so does DoorDash. And with DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday that you order, stacking it up all season long. You can save up to $250 plus $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period goes from right now to November the 18th. And our third Friday sponsor is FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss tip-off and you still want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next bucket to each and every fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at bigger payouts. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late-game push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Last couple minutes of our Friday show, rounding it out with our final thoughts and our score predictions ahead of Saturday night's matchup. Number 8 ranked Georgia Tech against the NC State Wolfpack, who are 4-4. We talked about what's at stake, a potential ACC Championship berth and possibly a trip to the CFP for Georgia Tech. For NC State, you are fighting for bowl eligibility. You got 2 more wins to get there. Can you get it done? Kenton, we are a 5.5-point underdog at home. It's a night game at Carter Finley, a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2. What are your final thoughts ahead of kickoff?
This team offensively, we have the ability to put up a lot of points. But the same thing I said about Georgia Tech in terms of, hey, they need the ball in order to be able to get it done, applies doubly or triply to NC State and our offense, because our offense is much more mercurial. It's much more up and down than what Georgia Tech has. So it's definitely going to be tougher if we cannot get off the field and get the ball back to CJ and company, which I don't think we'll be able to do at a high level. I do think that the score will not look like a blowout, but I think that Georgia Tech and that running game, even though we've got one of the best run defenses in the conference, and quite frankly, in terms of percentile in the nation, I struggle to see us stopping their running game when it matters most. I think we do a good job of stopping it. I think the defense does a great job of standing on their heads at multiple points in this game. But ultimately, I think that we just have 1 or 2 wonky things go wrong, and we end up losing this game 27-21.
Okay. I can see that. Like, when I'm saying that I think NC State's going to win, I'm not saying they're going to blow them out. I'm not saying we're going to dominate all 4 quarters. There's something that I have not felt in any of the other 8 games that we've played this year. I already talked about it's homecoming. It's a night game, but both teams are due. And what I mean by that is NC State is due for some good fortune because we've had a lot of bad fortune. We're due for a good win. And especially Dave Doeren, he's had a lot of top 25 opportunities with not much to show for. This is one of the biggest home opportunities he's had in all of his 13 years.
Absolutely.
Georgia Tech is due in the other sense of they've played with fire a couple times. They've escaped a couple times on the road. Do they have what it takes to avoid what feels like maybe a trap game for them? Because they are also kind of due for some bad luck. When you have those forces pulling in different directions and you got some rat poison out for Haynes King and Georgia Tech and ACC Championship, college football playoff, Heisman talk, there's a lot mixed into this. And so I think I'm telling you, something is telling me this game feels a little bit different. I have NC State getting it done behind a raucous home environment. However, I will say this. I think you'll know in the first 20 minutes if NC State will win or not win. I think in the first 20 minutes, just past 1 quarter of play, you'll know. Because NC State will either be up or they'll be neck and neck, and it's been a competitive game so far. If you don't see either of those 2 things after 20 minutes, well, we know how that ends. And I'll see y'all in the parking lot so I can hear about it then. But I have NC State getting it done 31-27. I think it will be an awesome game. I think it will be a loud, crazy environment. We're due for one of these things. We haven't had a crazy game that ends in our favor in a handful of years now. We are due. They are due in a different sense. I think NC State gets it done. So on that note, I know I went 3 for 3 in picks last week. I'm not going to give you that this week because I have just one play. NC State money line. It's plus 184. Tail responsibly. Don't tail at all. I don't care. NC State's going to win this football game. That's all I have for you. We will see you in the Carter on Saturday night. That will do it for us here on Friday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. Post-game live. It will be a late one on Saturday night, but we'll be awake. We'll see y'all then. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.